Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my Blogcast. Hope you're well and you've had a good couple of weeks. It was Mother's Day recently, of course, and this year, to treat my mum, as well as getting her a card and some nice flowers on the day, I also went round to my parents' place to cook dinner for everybody. My dad, my sister and my mum. She decided that she would like roast beef, which was fine, no problem at all. I'll be honest, they bought the meat and the vegetables and I supplied the other parts of the meal. It's always a little bit odd cooking in somebody else's kitchen because you have to search high and low for everything you need. Luckily, it being my parents' place, not the first time I've been in that position, so that wasn't too bad. If I do say so myself, the meal itself was an absolute triumph. I timed the beef, I think, perfectly and cooked it to perfection. And of course, allowing plenty of time for it to rest, as you should. Would you believe if you serve beef too quickly after taking it out of the oven, it can be quite dry. But if you leave it to rest, the juices somehow come up back through the meat and get it to a nice moist state that you can enjoy. I managed to time that bit perfectly. Now, I do pride myself already on cooking a decent roast potato. I have a technique that I use, which is basically part boiling the potatoes first and then roughing them up a bit on the edge of the saucepan. Once you've taken the water out, then stick them straight in the roasting pan with lots of fat. And the end result should be, if you cook them for the right amount of time, they're nice and crispy on the outside, but light and fluffy on the inside. I managed to achieve that on this occasion, which did really please me. I did an array of veg, carrots, peas and green beans. I'll be honest, I kept that relatively simple. And for the rest of the meal, as I was also going to eat it, I made sure the whole thing was gluten-free by bringing my own gluten-free Yorkshire puddings and gluten-free gravy, which I gave to everybody so there could be no cross-contamination, and the whole meal was perfectly safe for me. I mean, I've obviously been eating gluten-free stuff for over 3 years now, but I thought the Yorkshire puddings were fine, and if you didn't know, you wouldn't necessarily know they were gluten-free. Same with the gravy as well. I must confess, I do like my gravy nice and thick, so I always use way more granules than they suggest in the instructions on the side. I did have to make quite a bit of gravy because it turns out my dad likes his dinner absolutely swimming in the stuff, which I'm sure is a new thing. I don't remember that previously. Anyway, the meal was a triumph, as I said, and everybody enjoyed it. It tasted great, and I was very pleased with myself. So smug, in fact, as soon as I'd plated up my meal, I had to send a picture of it to Linda to prove to her that when given the chance in the kitchen, I can actually cook to, I'm going to say, an okay standard. The only thing that didn't go quite to plan was my parents had got in some dessert for the occasion, some roulade, which was actually gluten-free and I could have had. However, when I arrived to cook, they already should have got the dessert out for it to defrost. They hadn't, so they decided to save it for another day. So in the end, I did not end up getting any of that and had to create my own pudding, which was basically bananas with cream and some honey. Mind you, that tasted great as well. And being the good son I am, as well as doing all the cooking, I did do the washing up. Well, I say I did the washing up. I washed everything up by hand that needed to be, and everything that I could put in the dishwasher went in there. I mean, that's just common sense, isn't it, right? Having fed them and then tidied up my mess, I left them to enjoy the rest of their evening. I am quite into my horse racing and trying to go to at least one day of most of the major horse racing events in the UK. The first one of the year is always the Cheltenham Festival, although as it turns out, that was the last one I started going to, and it is brilliant. I've been for the last 7 years now. Normally, we go on the Wednesday, but I have a very small amount of shares in a horse called Stage Star, and very early on, we realised there was a great chance that he would be running on the Thursday. So my mate who organises the day out very kindly suggested to the rest of the group of us that go that maybe we should switch days and go on the Thursday, working on the assumption that my horse would run and therefore we could see him in action on the day. When I first started going to Cheltenham with this mate of mine, there were 2 or 3 of us that went. He is such a big fan of horse racing in general and Cheltenham. He absolutely loved Cheltenham. It is like his Christmas. I've never seen a grown man get so excited about anything as he does about going to our day at the Cheltenham Festival. This enthusiasm does seem to rub off on lots of people that he knows, because every year the group of us that go just gets bigger and bigger. There were 18 of us in the end this year, and I suspect there will be more when we go again next year. It is quite a long day out because we meet up in Reading to get the train from there to Cheltenham Spa, which is the nearest train station to the course. As well as buying us our tickets, my mate does organise the train travel and sort that out as well. Obviously, we do pay him for all of that. I ended up driving to another friend's house and getting there at 7:30 in the morning. We then got a train from his local station to Reading to be there for 9 o'clock. So it was quite an early start for me. We managed to grab a cup of tea and then meet up with everybody else at Reading and hop on our train, which went via Swindon. So we had one change and a little bit of a wait there. When you arrive at the Cheltenham Spa train station, there's shuttle buses that run to the course. It's very well organised. They cost £6 for a turn, but it does involve a bit of queuing. They get you on the bus as quick as possible. Owing to the sheer weight of traffic that the Cheltenham Festival causes in the town, it does take a while to get there on the bus, but once you arrive, you're pretty much straight in. We always go in the club enclosure, which is a little bit more expensive than the cheapest stands, but you get to overlook the finishing line and the bars are a bit nicer and you get a slightly better view of the racing. So we pay the extra money to enjoy that. We went straight to the normal bar that is our meeting place, and I had a cup of tea in there as we got ready for the day's racing. Now, the whole point of switching our day to the Thursday was to see Stage Star run. Luckily, he was declared in the third race. The day started well. 2 of us, myself included, had the winner of the first race, which is a nice start to get a few pounds back. Then in the second race, in case you haven't seen a picture of me recently, I favour a very, very short haircut because basically I've got no choice in the matter. That is the hand that nature has dealt me. But there was a horse called Bold Endeavour. It was quite a big field and they were paying each way up to 4th, so I thought I'd give it a go. And luckily for me, Bold Endeavour did come in 4th place, and that won me about £100, which was nice. The next race was Stage Star's race, so I decided to go down to the parade ring to see him walk round there and get some photos and catch up with some more of my fellow Owners Group shareholders who also had a stake in the horse. I actually arrived there a bit early before the horses for Stage Star's race came out and got to see the presentation for the race before, which was actually won by a horse that Sir Alex Ferguson co-owns, which was actually trained by Paul Nicholls and ridden by Harry Cobden, who just so happened to be the duo that also train and ride Stage Star for us. He then comes out into the paddock. I must admit, he did look just maybe a little bit het up. I've seen him look slightly more relaxed before some races. Then, because it was the big race of the afternoon, they actually parade all the horses right in front of the main stand before they go off to the starting point. So I quickly ran round to that point to see the parade and get a nice video of Stage Star walking past me there with Harry Cobden on board. Once again, he did just look a little bit fired up, a little bit agitated, so not something I'd seen from him for a while. Then the race gets underway and he does like to take the race by the scruff of the neck and lead from the front. So he jumped off first and was running very well, jumping great as well and leading the race. It's 2 and a bit circuits around the marvellous Cheltenham course for this particular race. The countryside backdrop is absolutely stunning to it. It's great, so amazing to look at, and the horses fly so fast. The quality of racing is always amazing. He was doing a great job. The ground, as everywhere at the moment, had quite a bit of rain on it. He doesn't mind a bit of soft ground. He's fine with that. But it was probably a little bit heavier out there than Stage Star ideally would have liked. However, he was still going great and jumping great as we came to the final lap. In fact, as we come to the home straight with 3 fences to jump, he was still in the lead. And then as he approached the second from home, he did start to tire just a little bit, and sadly it just wasn't quite to be our day. He finished 5th in the end, but he did run a great race. He jumped fantastically. It just wasn't quite to be his day. He was beaten by the better horse on the day. I think maybe that ground took a little bit more out of him than we would have liked. But the most important thing is he got round safe. He's going back to his stables now. He'll probably have a bit of a rest now. That could be his last race this season. And then Paul Nicholls and the owners group will decide where he goes next year. I do plan during the break to see him at his stables once again and get some more pictures with him. The rest of the day at Cheltenham was great. We just had such a good laugh watching some amazing races. The day goes so quickly. The time just flies by. Before you know it, it's the last race and it's time to head out and get in the massive queue for the shuttle buses back to the train station. The day is so good that you do kind of forget how long you actually spend queuing to get around. Although when we got back to the train station, sometimes you can queue for ages to get on your train. We got very lucky in that we didn't really queue that long at all, got on the train quite quickly and managed to get a seat altogether. Plus, on the way there, we had to change trains at Swindon. On the way back, the train we just randomly happened to get was going straight to Reading where we needed to go. So that worked out great. Again, more fun and games and laughs talking about the day on the train. By this point, we'd already decided that we'll be going to Cheltenham once again on the Thursday next year. We got back to Reading, said our goodbyes. I went back to my other mate's house. We grabbed some food on the way back to his, had one last cup of tea, then I drove home, getting home about 11 o'clock in the end. So it was a very long day, but it was such good fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it and can't wait to go again next year. My girlfriend Linda and I do like going out for meals, and we've been very lucky. We do eat at some amazing restaurants, which can cost a reasonable amount sometimes. It had been quite an expensive month, so we actually thought we'd try maybe a bit of a budget night out. We do like Pizza Express. They're celiac accredited, so I can eat there perfectly safely, and they do have a good selection of food. I can have any pizza they do, any topping, made on a gluten-free base, which gives me lots of options. Another reason we decided to go there was that Linda had been given a £25 voucher for her birthday to spend there, and for filling out a survey from TUI after our holiday to the Dominican Republic, I got a £15 voucher. Linda is also a member of Pizza Express via their app, and every time she either eats in the restaurant or gets a takeaway, she generally gets free dough balls and a free soft drink. Basically, we managed to have a 3-course meal with a couple of drinks each, thanks to our vouchers and the freebies she got for £15. We did tip the waiting staff £10 because they were great, but for us to both eat out for £25 and have 3 courses, the food was great as well. It really was probably the most cost-effective meal we've had out for ages. We were way too smug and impressed with ourselves, although we didn't make the mistake that we made before when we've had a relatively cheap meal out, is to end up going out somewhere else and staying out most of the night and spending more money. This time we were unusually very sensible and just went home to watch a bit of TV and have some more drinks. A friend of mine called Mike Sterling, who is a singer and actor who has played the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, invited us to a meal out he was having for his birthday in Henley-on-Thames recently. Me and Mike have now known each other round about 18 years after he came in for an interview at a radio station I was working at on one of my shows, and we hit it off from there. I went and saw his show. His voice blew me away. We've been mates ever since and been out to quite a few things together. I've seen him in quite a few shows and performances. Always have a good time, but we never see each other as often as we mean to because we're just both such busy people. It's hard getting times in our diary. Anyway, as it turned out, the birthday meal he organised, Linda and I were both available to go to, so we were very excited to catch up with him. It was very well organised. There were 22 of us, so sensibly the restaurant got us to pre-order our food via Mike before we went, which we did. It was a Portuguese restaurant we went to, which also doubles as a cocktail bar. Therefore, on arrival, we just all gathered at the bar for a few drinks. As Mike has been in the business so long, he basically knows almost everyone in the world of showbiz and certainly musical theatre. I was quite excited because I met his mate Al Bourne for the first time, who played Buddy in the Buddy Holly story in the West End. I've seen that show so many times and absolutely love it. To meet one of the actors who has played Buddy was an absolute joy, and he was a fantastic guy as well, along with his other half. Had a lovely chat to them. In fact, everybody there was really nice. I think I managed to get round and at least say a quick hello and have a quick chat to everybody who was there. Anita Harris was there as well. Had a very nice quick chat to her towards the end of the evening. 81 years old she is now, and she's still looking fantastic and is bright, funny, friendly and very, very nice. So it was great to meet her. The food was very nice. Mike also has to be on a gluten-free diet, and his daughter and a couple of his mates are vegan as well. So it was a dietary requirement special, and he was very careful with the orders. I have no complaints whatsoever. The food was very good. It did lend itself to being mostly gluten-free because it was generally grilled or fried meat with vegetables or salad. So you can't go too far wrong there. We did have a lovely 2-course meal. Yes, 2 courses, no dessert for me on this occasion. It wasn't the restaurant's fault because it was a very, very busy Saturday night and there were 22 of us in total. But the food was quite slow coming out by the time everybody got their starters and then everybody got their mains. The night was getting on a bit, so I decided not to have any dessert, mainly because I was actually quite full because the meal I ordered of the beef steak skewers was actually more substantial than I was expecting, and also nobody else seemed to be ordering dessert, and I thought it might be a bit rude and odd if I sat there by myself having a pudding. And also that afternoon Linda had made a gluten-free chocolate cake, so I knew I was good for a few pieces of that the next day, so I thought I could probably manage skipping dessert and it might actually do me some good. Somehow, even though we got there for 7 o'clock, we did not end up leaving the place until gone midnight, and the time just flew by. We were there for 5 hours. It felt like 5 minutes, which just shows how good the night and the company was. I did buy Mike a present, which I thought was quite nice. I got him a mocked up 45 record that had the lyrics on Music of the Night going all the way round it. Then in the middle, I had the Phantom, his name, and London and Manchester, the 2 places he played that role. I thought it was quite a nice touch, and I was delighted when he decided to keep it on his baby grand piano that he has at home. I'm looking forward to seeing him do one of his shows next month. That should be a lot of fun. Great fun hanging out with him, and you never know who's going to be there and who you're going to bump into, and I love that. Last Sunday, it was St. Patrick's Day, with a surname like Quigley and a granddad who was born in County Mayo. I have always seen myself as a little bit Irish, so therefore always like to mark St. Patrick's Day in some way. I'll be honest, when I was younger, that used to be by going out and drinking quite a bit of Guinness and going somewhere where there was live Irish music, which I absolutely loved. Obviously, now I am celiac, I can't have any Guinness because it contains gluten. So I've had to find a different way of celebrating. So I still listened to some Irish music. I made sure I wore something green, and I did have a nice hearty stew for my dinner. Guinness have fairly recently introduced an alcohol-free Guinness. I wonder if they ever get to the stage where they do release a alcohol and gluten-free version of Guinness. I doubt the demand for it would be very great, but I would definitely drink it, and not just on St. Patrick's Day. Once again, Tottenham Hotspur have been being Tottenham Hotspur. I thoroughly enjoyed our victory over Aston Villa on Mother's Day. That was great, exciting and thrilling. But then last weekend we got beaten away at Fulham. So the advantage it seemed that we gained against Aston Villa was lost straight away in the next game, which is something we've been doing very well for many, many years. Although the fact that Villa then drew with West Ham kind of puts us back on an even keel. So who knows? We're in the international break and then we push on to the end of the season. All the players can do is give it their all and see where we end up. On Monday, I should be going to my neurology appointment, so hopefully I can make a bit of progress on the headaches that I've been getting for the last year. And fingers crossed they won't have cancelled this one and I'll actually be able to see the doctor. Let's hope so anyway. It is Easter next weekend. That seems to have arrived very early. I knew it was early this year, but to have it at the end of March, I can't remember that happening for quite some time. It just seems like everything is happening at once, but I am looking forward, of course, to a long bank holiday weekend. Whatever you're doing, have a good Easter, enjoy it, and I hope someone gives you an egg or at least maybe a pack of mini eggs. That's almost it. Just a quick reminder that you can hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 at radio9springs.com. Have a good couple of weeks. Look after yourselves and each other, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.